Let's turn to this now. Tshwane Mayor Dr. Nasipi Moya and Tshwane authorities conducted raids in Pretoria CBD checking for traders' compliance. One establishment known as Ipi Intombi Sports Bar was found to be trading in alcohol, but also rented out clustered rooms allegedly to 6 workers in the building. The rooms were in poor condition and did not look well kept. The workers are said to be charged a fee by the owners of the bar. Now, in September, the Sex Workers Education and Advocacy Task Force Organization, through Section 27, took the Department of Justice and Correctional Services to the High Court to compel them to decriminalize sex work, a matter that is yet to be heard in 2026. Let's speak now about the plight of the decriminalisation of sex work. We're joined by Constance Mathe of the Asijiki Coalition for the Decriminalisation of Sex Work. Constance, thank you very much for your time. Now, Ipi Intombi would be regarded as a typical case study for sex workers, right? They hide in these dangerous establishments, to work, but these are also environments that are not good for their well-being and also places their lives at risk.
Yes, thank you so much for having me this morning. When we talk about the Intombi case, the Ipi Intombi place, it automatically shows why sex workers should be decriminalized and why the decriminalization is needed urgent. When a sex worker operates in a gray zone, sex workers are left extremely vulnerable. They are left extremely vulnerable. Right now, it's unclear whether the establishment owners are simply getting out of the room, taking the exploitative fees, or sex workers have no legal avenue to challenge unfair practices. The confusion and power imbalance exists because the law forces the industry under the ground, making it possible to set the standards, enforce the contracts to ensure safe work conditions. Decriminalization is not encouraging sex workers. It's about the removal of the penalties, the criminal penalties that prevent people accessing their rights.
Let's talk about the impact of the slow pace at which the legislative process has dealt with, repealing the Sexual Offences Act. You're saying that the law is sending them underground, and there's a risk of some of them not making it. I'm reminded of a case not so long ago involving Sfiso Mkwanazi, Joburg CBD. At one of the workshops, 6 workers found dead.
Yes, we are so glad and we are happy with the process of the proceedings of the case right now. This case is very important. It presents a chance for sex workers and the affected person to finally have their voice heard in court of law. The case highlights the harms and caused by the criminalization and push for a legal framework that protects the safety and human rights. A positive outcome instead, it will help to shape the system where sex workers can work without fear or exploitation of violence. As we always mention that the decriminalization is all about the safety, the clarity, the legal protection. When a sex worker are protected, the community are safe too. So this court case is a very important court case that I think people should be in support of, people should be involved so that they can understand, because we have been coming in the media, public spaces, and talk about the decriminalization of sex work, as we are talking about the killings, sex workers are being murdered each and every day. They are likely more murdered like 17 times like any other woman. When we talk about GBV, femicide, we only talk about it in the 16 days activism. This happens 365 days every day in sex workers' lives. Why can't we just think about the way forward and look at into this case as a change of the democracy?
And in the Constitutional Court, one of the key points that you want to argue is the issue around the constitutionally guaranteed right to access health and security. You're arguing that sex workers are discriminated against purely because they're sex workers. And this is a right that, is bestowed upon them by the Constitution of South Africa.
Yes, many sex workers here on the ground have faced that kind of a challenge. The Department of Health is issuing the condoms, while the Department of Police is using the condoms as a evidence. When they caught you right-handed with the box of a condom, it's an evidence that you are a sex worker. So now sex workers, it makes the sex workers to end up in danger zone, to not carry their condoms for protection because of scared that they will be arrested, or you end up finding yourself in the police cells. And those cells, as we mentioned, they are not comfortable. Cells are not welcoming, and some people, they are even denied their ARVs. So it's make the sex workers exposed into dangers of any healthy challenges. So that is the other reason why is it important for the safety and the health of the sex workers.
Let's talk about the plight of sex workers. I mean, many of them are driven by socio-economic issues such as unemployment, poverty, and inequality. But some of the things that you argue here is how black women in particular are affected, disproportionately in this industry.
Yes. So when you notice most of the time, many people, I have noticed many people when we are building this argument do not understand that a sex working industry is a big and a diverse industry. There is all different of race in the industry, but the mostly targeted is a black woman. It's a black woman that is the most targeted in the industry. So this shows that the most woman that has a problem, and we have got a high rate of a black woman in the industry. It's a lack of the job opportunities out there. It's a lack of recognition of the race, which we always talk and emphasize about. If people out there, the employers, they do not recognize a black person and give, when we talk about the issue of equality, and give equality and give the people work equally like any other people, not just a job, but a job that will pay equal amount with other people. And then when people join the industry, same the racism, it follows the people in the industry. The target is gonna be a black woman. People always see a black woman as a sex worker. They don't identify other race as a sex worker. So the issue of the race is also playing a very big role.
Let's talk about the South African Law Reform Commission, which released a report in 2015. One of the things that they rebutted in that 2015 report was poverty being a contributing factor to why people go into sex work. Such a report, how have they impacted the work that you're doing in trying to decriminalize sex work?
I don't want to lie. On 2015, that report was horrible. That was the most terrible when we are talking about a democratic country and we're still getting those kind of reports. That report was a horrible report. That's why we We protest against that report and we make noise about that report. We cannot still criminalize the industry. These laws, they were placed since 1957. When we are talking about the new democracy country, we cannot ever talk about the 1957 laws. So that report was still recommending those old laws. So that's why we challenge that report. That report did not work for sex workers. It still makes the sex work industry more vulnerable because the report came out recommending again the criminalization. The criminalization right now, it putting the sex workers in many dangers. It put them in the danger, no safety working conditions, safer place working conditions. It put the sex workers and the children, because if you read that recommendation of 1957 law, it says anyone who benefited from the industry is a criminal. That makes a sex worker child to be a criminal as well. It makes the children more vulnerable and exposed in many dangers, stigmatized, discrimination, and it doesn't work totally for sex workers. Exploitation at work, at healthy facilities, lack of access of justice, lack of access of healthy facilities. That report didn't work for sex workers. That's why now we decide we're going to take it in two parallel. We are doing the decree bill and we are doing the litigation because we want this law to be changed. Our main focus is that the sex workers, they need to get protection from the legal framework and be recognized as their profession, to be recognized and protected by the labor laws like any other employees. Because as we are talking now about Ipi Intombi, we are talking about these kind of challenges that we are seeing that exist in our community, exist in our society. But instead of us protecting the sex workers, we make them more vulnerable.
Yeah. All right, that was Constance Mathe.